And now moving on, we get to talk about Shadow Paladins, the exact opposite of Royal Paladins, or as I like to call them, expensive Tachikaze. Hello again, fellow YouTubers, Solomon Pleasant here for another Card Fight Vanguard clan analysis review thing. And again, we talk about Shadow Paladins. So, what's their concept? Well, they actually have two different concepts. Their main number one concept that they've done throughout the years that has been consistent and has been increasingly evolving to become better until Season 4 has been retiring their own in order to gain specific skills that can help them win games. Again, a lot like Tachikaze, but the only difference is they do it more for skill, whereas Tachikaze does it more for power, I guess would be the big difference there. Their second concept is more on the Witch deck, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but first, just a brief history. Shadow Paladins started out with Ren, got bashed in Season 2. In Season 3, they got Revengers, which has dominated tournaments ever since the creation. We'll talk about Revengers we'll talk about the Revenger subclan in a little bit. And then Season 4, we got Witches, and Season 5, we went back to Revengers, because Revengers. And we'll talk about the Abyss deck a little bit really shortly. So, overall though, Ren's been the main user of Shadow Paladins, which is probably why everyone likes him. So, let's just start with the Phantom Blaster deck, which has definitely evolved over the years, to say the least. The original Phantom Blaster deck was, in fact... Oh, hey, that's right, Phantoms is an archetype that actually belongs to other clans. I forgot about that. The original Phantom Blaster deck was actually a... what's the word? A ride chain. Yeah, those are extinct. But it originally was a ride chain that turned into a cross ride, which not a lot of ride chains actually have done since, but this one managed to do it. It started out by Full Bow into Blaster Javelin, into Blaster Dark, into Phantom Blaster, and then you ride Phantom Blaster Overlord, and then just wreck everything. Now, one thing I gave this ride chain a lot of credit was how consistent it was. Ride Blaster Javelin. I instantly have Blaster Dark in my hand, I ride that, and once I get Phantom Blaster Overlord, I basically will be guaranteed an 11k base. That's pretty good. And then the cross... And what does Phantom Blaster do himself? Phantom Blaster Dragon says Counterblast 3, kill 3 or 2 of my rear guards, and I get plus 10 to crit. Which is very scary when you don't have P guards. Then Phantom Blaster Overlord came out, which says, hey, Counterblast 2, discard a copy of me, and then I get plus 10 to crit. So, Persona Blast me, and I'm going to get plus 10 to crit. And I think you can actually do that twice, unless that... No, that is a Counterblast 3. You basically can only do it twice if you get lucky with a heal. Now, granted, nowadays this is not the best strategy, but back in the day this was really scary. Because unless you had P-guards, you were getting hit for a lot. And it would be very hard to guard these types of attacks. So, it's funny how power has become less important as opposed to, you know, Legion and junk. Anyway, how did the Phantom Blaster deck evolve? Well, Phantom Blaster Dragon really hasn't shown up much since Season 1, but he has been recently revived in Season 4 with the Abyss Legion, which is garbage. Complete and utter garbage. Because what it basically does is retire 3 of your units, and you may stand up your Vanguard again. For a Counterblast of 3, I believe. I'm just gonna check this just to make sure. Oh yes, it's also a Revenger. Probably should point that out, because once Revengers came out, there was no going back. We'll talk about Revengers later, though. Let me just confirm that. No, it's Counterblast 2. Alright. Does it say when you Legion? Just be rear guards that retire them. During the turn that this unit Legion. Okay, so it's only when you Legion. Problem with why it sucks. It gains nothing else. It just stands back up. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, wait, isn't it good to stand up the Vanguard? Can I get another drive check? Yes. But when other cards stand up the Vanguard, they usually get power out of it. Or, you know, they've done something like... Let's just take a look at some of the other cards that have done that. We take a look at the Thing Saber Dragon Legion. Stands back up, but you manage to Legion a second time. You don't get off the Legion skill, but it does allow you to stand back up and continue to hit. Also, it's slightly cheaper because I don't lose my rear guards. Let's look at the Beast Deity standing up strategy. Break Ride, stand back up. Yeah, and also I stand up my rear guards. That is also pretty good. What are some others? I can't think of others at the moment, but the problem with the Abyss Legion is that you kill a ton of your rear guards just to stand back up. When Mordred Phantom... Or no, not Mordred. When Drag Ruler kills 3 of his rear guards, I give you an automatic damage. That is worth the Counterblast 2 and killing 3. That's worth it, because I can give you an instant damage. Counterblasting 2 to kill 3 of my rear guards just to stand up? And only once? No, I don't want to have to go through trying to get another Phantom Blaster Abyss out just to do that again, just to lose 3 more of my cards. And granted, Legion says, oh, I milled stuff back. Yeah, but... you stand up, but unless you get, like, triggers, it's not going to help. And the same thing with Thing Saber, but at the very least, Thing Saber keeps its units on the field. At the very least. At least Ethics Buster kept his units on the field. Like, it just doesn't work that well in the Shadow Paladin playstyle, and I've gone up against the Abyss a couple of times. It hasn't won. I've never seen the Abyss win. And some people will try to defend it, but go ahead, try. Like, I used Angel Feather against the Abyss, and won. Just think about that and process that. Angel Feather. Really. So, yeah. The Phantom Blaster decks have never really lasted, per se, and I haven't even looked at Diablo, and I really don't feel like it because I don't like talking about stride units, so I'm not going to. But overall, just... So, before I talk about the almighty Revengers and their amazingness, I should probably mention that Demon Castles should totally be a thing, and they're almost a thing. Hey, Bushiroad, make Demon Castles a thing. Demon World Castles, totally a thing. You should totally do that. Make that deck a thing. Do it. Do it now, Bushiroad. Do it. Actually put some faith into humanity. Do it. Make Demon Castles a thing. Alright. Let's talk about the almighty, all-powerful, all-transcendent, all-glorious Revengers and their ability to destroy everything. Probably the most expensive archetype in the entire game, Revengers are freaking devastating. Why? Because they have some of the best grade 3 skills ever. And they have some of the best grade 2 and grade 1 skills to associate with those grade 3 skills. What do? Pretty much the standard Shadow Paladin idea, except for much better skills. The 2 big boss units of Revengers that should be talked about. First there's the Break Ride Mordred Phantom, which is get plus 10, kill some stuff, and I think it's actually get plus 10, get a card out, which is, that's pretty good. The Break Ride is actually really effective with, both the 2. I'm just trying to remember, who was the other one? Let's see, there's Mordred, there's... yes, Raging Form. Raging Form. The dragon who said, I'm gonna make Superior Persona Ride a thing. Yeah, stand back up with another Break Ride after you probably already broke run with Mordred Phantom, and just a devastating combo. The other devastating combo is with Drag Ruler, where you break ride, chip damage, and basically make your opponent take a damage. That's also really effective. And they kill for low cost, 2 to 3 rear guards. And again, Mordred does it, and again, Drag Ruler does it better because I'm giving you an instant damage. They have always, ever since they first were a thing. Like, at first I'm like, oh hey, Revengers. And then they started taking over tournaments. And then they started destroying everyone. And then they were like, hey, we're just gonna be the best archetype you have in Shadow Paladin to the point where there isn't anything else. There is nothing but Revengers. And then Season 4 came around, they made Witches, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. Revengers are devastating. It will be a hard fight. When you are fighting Revengers, you know you're in for a long battle, because they do not play nice. They do not back down. They will destroy you as much as possible. And Blaster Dark on Vanguard or Rearguard, being able to blow something up, that's nice, because original Blaster Dark could only blow stuff up on Vanguard, which... Thanks, Blaster Dark Revenger. Thank you. And also, that is pretty awesome artwork right there. And now for the most interesting of the Shadow Paladin decks, the Witch deck. Now, Witches just started out with Nemean, which gave you the ability to draw 2 cards. It was a really good, low-powered unit. And everybody ran it in the original Shadow Paladin deck, and then Revengers came out and they stopped using her. So when Season 4 rolled around, the only good thing Bushiroad really did in Season 4, besides, you know, maybe giving Spikes and Grand Blue and all my clans support, shut up, was make these guys. Witches have always, their gameplay has always fascinated me, in just like how they run. What Witches really like to focus on is actually a very interesting concept that I think should be expanded. Their playstyle focuses on this. I take your rear guards, and I replace them, and I put them in the drop zone. Then, I put grade 0s from your drop zone onto the field. That is mean. That is a mean and interesting way to play it, because a lot of people just, you know, don't prepare for that. They really don't. What they prepare for is just like, oh, I'm going to guard with my grade 0s, I'm going to spam guard, I'm going to P-guard, I'm going to just guard with 0s for the most part, because I don't want to guard with my grade 1s and 2s. I need those on the field. And then Witches are just like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to just counterblast, soul blast, or just place something on the field. Your rear guards are now grade 0s. Wait, what? Yeah. It doesn't really... I'm really trying to think of decks it would hurt. It hurts a lot of decks. Like, a few decks that manage to probably escape this, Spike Bros, because Spike Bros don't care about having a field during your turn, during the opponent turn. They really don't. Grand Blue really could give less of a care because, oh, you brought stuff back that I'm just gonna kill to bring my stuff back, so you're really just not inconveniencing me in the slightest. Trying to think. Certain clans get hurt by it. Most of the Dragon Empire would easily get hurt by this type of play style. Most of United Sanctuary would also probably get hurt. I know there are cards that say put this into the soul, draw a card, and or get power, so there is that slight downside, but other than that, Witches are a very dangerous deck to mess with. And they're one of the few legions that I will respect just because of how unique the playstyle is, because nobody else has done this. There is no other clan that has this type of playstyle. There isn't. Like, this is the only one. And granted, it's from Shadow Paladin, so of course they're going to be expensive because Shadow Paladins are incredibly popular. And it's just a very interesting deck build, and does it rely on Legion? More or less, but really, if you didn't put the 4 back in, if you just did the Legion, if you just, like, did the Vanguard skill, like, it wouldn't really hurt, per se. Granted, the Vanguard skill does need to work with Legion, so there's kind of that confliction there, but at the same time, like, just the rearguard skills and the grade 2 and grade 1 skills that they have, it's a very very interesting deck, and it's been one that I've always kind of thought about, of just like, yeah, this is it's a very interesting deck. And if I ever saw like someone actually fully build this, I'd be like, oh, good for you. You did something that wasn't Revengers, because Revengers take up 90% of the Shadow Paladin population. And then there's Witches. So like one of the few good things that actually came out of Season 4. Which, I'm sorry for all you Americans that don't know what Season 4 is, because... yeah. And also, it's in Genesis, so they seem to have this idea that I can mix clan, when Bushiroad has stated that I shouldn't be doing that, because that's a bad thing, and you shouldn't try. Oh well. And before I get to specifics, I probably should mention that Night Witches is totally an awesome Sabathon song. I just wanted to throw that out there. So, oh, that's fantastic. Well, there is one thing I can talk about. When it comes to building Shadow Paladin decks, trigger-wise, again, it's going to be more critical-based. You do probably want to run Draw, though. Draw is definitely a trigger that you definitely want in most of your Shadow Paladin decks, just because Draw is super needed in order to get rear guards to replace the ones you killed. And in the Witch build, you, I guess you could run more crit, but honestly, Witches don't have that many triggers, so it really doesn't matter how you run your triggers in the Witch build. When it comes to P-Guards, Shadow Paladins, like, for the most part, are gonna want a ton. Like, they're just a really competitive deck, and they do not take kindly to anyone who's attacking them, so they're probably going to need P-Guards. It's just gonna be a thing. As for a specific grade 0, there is one that probably should just be slightly talked about. Now, when it came to grade 0s, I was thinking of going with Creeping Dark Goat just because of his price, but I went with Full Bow. Okay, I'll just put it there. I'll just explain Full Bow's skill. Full Bow basically says, oh hey, you rode Blaster Javelin? Congratulations, you've acquired Blaster Blade. Blaster Dark, my mistake. It was like it was the first ride chain to make ride chains more consistent, and... okay, back. Thanks for crashing again, Internet. That was very much appreciated. Full Bow basically was one of a few grade 0 ride chain starters that said, hey, get the grade 2 when you ride the grade 1. So, ride chains in general have become less and less consistent and therefore have died into obscurity as a result, but when they were first a thing, like, Full Bow was one of those where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna use you just because I want Blaster Dark out. And sometimes you may not even need to ride Blaster Dark, but it's good to have Blaster Dark anyway. So, Full Bow was always good in that regard. Now, as for grade 1, say hi to the MVP of pretty much any Revenger deck. Barrier Troop Revenger Dorant. What this did was, whenever you place something in front of her, in the row basis, so... oh wait, it has to be Blaster Dark. Whenever you call out Blaster Dark, place them in the same column, unflip a damage. And good God did everybody run 3 to 4 of Dorant, because this thing was incredibly crazy whenever you call out Blaster Dark, which you would to either get rid of Rearguard or for Dorant's skill to unflip in order to use something like Raging Form, or Drag Ruler specifically. And man, Dorant is crazy in just being the MVP of pretty much most Revenger decks. Is she used nowadays with Legion stuff? Probably not, but with, like, Season 3 Revengers, like, everyone needed Dorant. Everyone. And everyone ran Dorant, because Revengers. And for everyone who thinks that Royals is the only thing that's popular, Shadow Paladins have their own popular unit, Blaster Dark. Everyone likes Blaster Dark, right? Okay, so original Blaster Dark actually isn't that good. It's only a kill something when you're placed on Vanguard, and hey, I get +1 to Blaster Javelins in my soul. So, originally it wasn't that good, but despite that, like, it's gotten so many reduns, and Blaster Dark Revenger is, like, crazy good. Like, just blowing up stuff-wise and just being popularity. Blaster Dark is also an incredibly popular card, and It's pretty much Blaster Blade, except for Shadow Paladins. Because if you haven't noticed by now, Shadow Paladins are royals, except evil until we get into Season 3 when they're not, because Link Joker was a thing. And now they're just not evil because, I guess really the main evil nowadays is just Link Joker because we had Shadow Paladins and then we just kind of stopped. Now, a lot of grade 3s I've talked about, but this is one that definitely should be mentioned. It's only a promo, but Gust Blaster Dragon is freaking ridiculous. What it does is Counterblast 1, choose 3 Shadow Paladins, kill them. Alright, when this unit attacks, you can pay the cost. If you do this, you get +5 and a crit for each of the cards in your soul with Blaster its name until the end of the battle. And when this unit attacks, if you have a card with your... If you have a card in your soul with Blaster in its name, this unit gets plus 2,000 power until the end of the battle. So, it gets a 13 automatically. But, you know what makes this awesome? The +5 and a crit for each. So hey, I just rode Blaster Dark. I ride Phantom Blaster Dragon. I ride Phantom Blaster Overlord. I ride this. Hey, guess what? I got 3 extra critical. And then to ensure that you have at least one Blaster in your soul, hey, Blaster Dark Spirit, and Blaster Dark Revenger. Basically, your grade 2s are nothing but Blaster Darks. So you're guaranteed at least +5 and a crit. Your grade 3 lineup, Phantom Blasters, and Phantom Blaster Overlords. So you can get maximum power for maximum crit. And your opponent is going to peak guard this attack, because if they don't, they'll be taking a good 4 damage. Oh wait, plus Blaster Javelin. Oh hey, 5 crit. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, yeah, so 5 crit total. For a counterblast of 1. Granted, you need to kill your rear guards in order to do it, but 5 crit for 1 counterblast. That is beyond ridiculous. And the instant someone sees this video and builds this deck, send a link of it to my channel so that I can see this, so I can just see how ridiculous you can make it. Because, my god, is this card awesome. Like, I'm surprised no one's even tried that. Maybe it's because it's a limit break and it's not Legion or Stride, but you know what? Counterblast 1 for 5 crit. I like that. And I pretty much am forcing my opponent to P-Guard. Which, in card fight, it is a good thing to force your opponent into a P-Guard, because if your opponent can just guard with normal cards, then sure you have a bit more of a chance of breaking, but with a P-Guard, it limits how many they can use. Because you can only run 4 Sentinels. So the instant those 4 are gone, due to being damage checked, being put into the soul, being in the drop zone from P-Guarding, they're going to run out fast. And then this thing's going to hit you for a 5 crit and you're dead. So, I want to see somebody build this deck, because this is a ridiculous skill. And really, you only need to use it once or twice. Again, you have to kill 3 rearguards, but when I attack, +5 and a crit for each. Run this with the Ride Chain. Guess what? I got 4 extra crits and 20 extra power. So for a total of 33 and 5 critical, you are P-guarding this attack or you're dead. You are not going to survive this attack otherwise. So somebody definitely build this, because this is a wicked good card. It really is. So what if it's a Limit Break 4? Maybe you should try Limit Breaks and actually try. It's wicked amazing. It really is. So overall, Shadow Paladins are top tier for a reason. They're incredibly good with their skills, they combo off really well, but they don't combo enough to become broken. See, why I respect Shadow Paladins so much is because a lot of their stuff requires costs of retirement and counterblast. And it gets very hard, and they don't do it very often. When they do it, they're incredibly powerful plays, but they don't do it often enough to be stupidly broken, like some Nova Grappler units, some arguably Link Joker units, or some Gold Paladin units. They don't become broken. They're not too easy to use. Like, when it comes to Shadow Paladin, it does take some... Why would you do that, Wicca? Why would you do that? You have no reason to do this. You had no reason. Just get... There you go. it takes a lot of effort to run Shadow Paladin. Like, you need to be incredibly skilled in Vanguard in order to fully understand how Shadow Paladins fully work. Am I someone who thinks they could do that? If I had enough money, I probably would. But considering Shadow Paladin is arguably the most expensive clan in the game, no one really wants to do that, because Shadow Paladins are expensive. Incredibly expensive. Revengers especially. Like, I don't know how expensive the witches are, but, like, they're gonna be slightly expensive. Because Shadow Paladin is a fan favorite clan. Like, the only clan I think that is above Shadow Paladin is Golds. And, yeah. They're just a really solid build. Why do you think they take tournaments so many times? Because they're just such a good clan. They synergize super well when built right. And it's really actually hard to build Shadow Paladins wrong if you know the right cards to use. And given that so many people have built Shadow Paladin, it's not that hard to figure out which cards are bad to use and which ones are good. And then there are cards in there that are just kind of like, you can kind of debate whether you want to use it or not. And I just really like Shadow Paladins. They're a really good clan, and I think if they were less expensive, they would just flood the market and just become like, they would just flood tournaments and there would be nothing but Shadow Paladin. Because they're that popular with people. Overall, Shadow Paladin definitely top tier. Easy. Because they will not rest until they win. And that's all I got for this clan video. So, this has been Solemn Pleasant for Team O.M.G Vanguard. This has been Shadow Paladins. This is Solemn Pleasant, signing off.